We all love Gwen Stacy and Mayday Parker, but what about the Cinderella or the Fairy Spider-Woman? They deserve a moment in the spotlight too, and that is exactly what we are here to do right now. So 10, Spinstress. She is my favorite spider variant. I've talked about her so many times on this channel, and we are back at it again. She is literally Spider-Man but Cinderella, and her ball gown is a thing of dreams. A stunning twist on the classic Spider-Man myth, Petra brings a vibrant musical energy to the hero. Petra Parker got her spider powers from her fairy godmother so she could attend the ball and save her city, but there's of course a catch. She loses them at midnight, or she loses the ability to ever find love. And you can guess which choice she's stuck with. 9, White Widow. This is not Yelena. This White Widow was part of a fan movement turned canon. After the success of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, fans started creating their own Spider-Sonas. Marvel contacted some fans to showcase their Spider-Sonas in Spider-Verse Volume 3, and it was a really cool project, and many of those Sonas are now featured on this list, including White Widow. In addition to normal spider powers, she can coat herself, her webs, and gloves in toxins that she produces at will. 8, Spinster. Like Spinstress, Spinster also wears a really nice dress. She existed as a noblewoman in the era of the French Revolution, and her special spider ability is tied to her hair. Her hair is her webbing. She can extend it as far as she wants because the vibrations on the webs allow her to eavesdrop on conversations. I do wonder though that if this means she can feel whenever that someone like breaks her webbing, and I imagine that's probably not pleasant. But 7, Garden Spider. I know that I said Cinderella Spider-Woman was my favorite, but Garden Spider is a really close second. She's shrunk down to bug size. Petunia Parker spends her days living in her old garden, caring for her plants, living in her old watering can, and fighting off the villainous aphid. I imagine that she must have some sort of plant-based power because her flowers are doing really well for being cared for by someone who is less than 3 apples tall. Though little, she packs a serious punch and can take down villains nearly 10 times her size. 6, Star Spider. The Spider-Woman in space. Persephone Parker is Star Spider from Earth 1978, debuting in Edge of Spider-Verse 3. An apprentice to Professor Osborna, Persephone has her hands full juggling her quantum engineering internship, a secret relationship with Osborn's daughter, and of course her spider heroics. Assisted by and with an outfit created from nanobot Shi'ar technology called Spiders, Star Spider was able to fend off Octavius and the Kree army that were trying to invade her home. This next Spider-Man had to go at number 6 for one reason. I guess technically 6 reasons. The 6-armed Spider-Man from Earth 92,100 is a confusing alternate version of Peter Parker that takes the classic hero in roughly 6 new directions. Unlike the familiar Spider-Man, this Peter Parker undergoes a mutation that gives him 4 extra arms, resulting in a total of 6. This transformation dramatically enhances his strength, agility, and web-slinging abilities, making him an even more dangerous force against villains. What makes this version truly fascinating is how it pushes the boundaries of what fans expect from Spider-Man. Imagine the visual spectacle and combat possibilities of a hero who can fight, swing, and strategize with 6 arms. It's a striking twist on the beloved character, challenging our perceptions and opening up a world of storytelling potential that's as thrilling as it is unexpected. At the halfway point is one of my favorite versions of Spider-Man, Petra Parker, the Princess Spider. When you combine a Disney princess with Spider-Man, you get Petra Parker, the Spider-Woman of Earth 423. She's a stunning twist on the classic Spider-Man mythos with her fresh perspective and unique flair. Petra brings a vibrant feminine energy to this hero, combining the iconic spider powers with her own distinct personality and style. Her world is full of a dazzling blend of familiar Spider-Man themes like responsibility and loss and heroism, but it's filtered through a new lens that challenges expectations and redefines what it means to be a web slinger. Her character isn't just a gender swap, she's a fully realized hero whose courage, intelligence, and wit make her a standout among the infinite spider variants. And encountering her story is a mind-blowing reminder of the limitless possibilities within the Marvel Universe. Plus, she wears a really pretty dress, and I just like looking at it. Number 4, you've seen her on the big screen, but the movie came out so long ago that I don't blame you if you forgot. Spider-Bite is a spider that operates in the virtual world. Her domain is completely virtual reality. Margot Kess from Earth 22,191, complete completely reimagines what it means to be a spider hero. Unlike pretty much any other Peter Parker, Margot is a young woman who takes on the mantle of Spider-Man in virtual reality. Her story stands out not just for her gender swap, but for the way she balances her superhero responsibilities with her own personal challenges and relationships, offering fresh perspectives on familiar Spider-Man themes. Margot's suit, abilities, and the world that she inhabits all reflect a creative twist on the Spider-Man legend, making her an inspiring and exciting character for fans who crave something new. She was featured in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and hopefully we will be seeing her again when the next one comes out in 2027. Number 3. Lady Spider. So what if Aunt May became Spider-Man? Wonder no more, because Earth 803 tackled that idea. Maybelle Riley, also known as Lady Spider, is a very unique twist on the Spider-Man character because instead of Peter becoming Spider-Man, Aunt May does. Maybelle hails from a steampunk-esque universe that is set in 1895, just to, make everything even cooler. A brilliant inventor who crafts her own mechanical spider arms and gadgets, relying on her intellect and engineering prowess rather than radioactive powers. May's Victorian-era sensibilities, combined with her fearless spirit and inventive genius, make her stand out among the Spider-Verse heroes. Lady Spider's ability to hold her own in battles alongside powered counterparts, all while sporting a corseted suit and wielding steam-powered tech, is visually stunning and thematically refreshing. She proves that courage and ingenuity can be just as powerful as superhuman abilities, that makes her a truly mind-blowing addition to the Marvel multiverse. And number 2, Sun Spider. Charlotte Weber, also known as Sun Spider from Earth 20,023, is a witty and vibrant hero who uses mobility aids due to EDS, making her one of the few disabled superheroes in the Marvel universe. Her web cane and crutches double as her signature weapons, turning what you might see as limitations into sources of strength and ingenuity. She shoots webs from her crutches. That's incredible. Charlotte's presence challenges stereotypes and brings much needed representation to superhero comics, showing that heroism can come in many forms. Her quick humor, inventive fighting style, and unapologetic confidence make her a standout among all Spider heroes. We do have an honorable mention for this list because it's just so ridiculous and funny that I can't even believe it exists. There is a Spider-Man that prefers to defeat his villains by giving them a pastry. The Golden Sponge Cake Spider-Man of Earth 51,914 is a delightfully bizarre and mind-blowing alternate version of Peter Parker who stands out for being just truly whimsical. His adventures are filled with tongue-in-cheek humor, and he uses his powers not just to fight crime, but often to distribute sponge cakes and resolve conflicts in the most absurdly sweet ways imaginable. The Golden Sponge Cake Spider-Man is a testament to Marvel's creativity, showing just how far the multiverse can stretch that Spider-Man IP. And finally, number 1, Web Slinger. A cowboy-themed Spider-Man from a Wild West-inspired universe is the gift that keeps on giving. Patrick O'Hara, the Spider-Man of Earth 31,913, is an iconic alternate version of the Web Slinger. He fuses the classic superhero elements with the wild, untamable spirit of the Old West. Patrick is literally the coolest version of the character that I've come across, a cowboy who swings through the dusty streets of his frontier town using web shooters fashioned from his father's 6 shooters. Like, are you kidding? He's blending gunslinging with web slinging. Like, I don't think it's possible to be any cooler than that. His world is filled with outlaws and supernatural threats rather than supervillains, and he rides a trusty horse named Widow. The web slinger's unique blend of cowboy grit, spider powers, and a code of justice makes him stand out among the Spider-Verse heroes, offering fans a fresh, genre-bending take that's as cool as it is unexpected.
Coming in at number 10 is The Amazing Spider. On Earth 11638, Uncle Ben never loses his life, and instead he helps train Peter Parker with his new spider powers and eventually even helps him to form Parker Industries. Now, given the title of this list, you should know that things aren't all hunky-dory. Peter and Uncle Ben end up building a machine that allows Peter to lure alternate versions of Spider-Man to his reality, where he then absorbs their powers to increase his own, making him the most powerful hero on Earth and eliminating the need for any other hero, but also taking the lives of other alternate hims. See, that did take a very dark turn. When he tried to do this to the Spider-Man from Earth 616, our Spider-Man, this powerful version of Peter loses his life and his soul is sent to hell, where, with the assistance of the Infernal Hulk, he is fused with the spirit of vengeance, becoming the Ghost Spider. Not the Gwen Stacy Ghost Spider, but a Ghost Rider Spider. A Ghost Rider Spider. That's what we're going with. Ghost Rider, for any who don't know, is insanely powerful. He has been called in to deal with the Hulk and is he's even gone toe-to-toe with Galactus, so this Spider-Man Ghost Rider hybrid is no joke at all. Plus he's kinda evil, and he looks really cool. Number 9. Assassin Spider-Man. In What If Spider-Man vs. Wolverine #1, we are introduced to Spider-Assassin, a Spider-Man variant who is just a little bit more loose when it comes to the morals that he follows. In his universe, with great power comes great responsibility and greater enemies, which led the Peter of Earth 8351 to leave New York City in order to protect his family from the villains who would make personal strikes against him. Instead, Peter joined up with Wolverine, and because of their time traveling and working together, he is much less opposed to sending criminals to the afterlife, meaning he does it on the regulars. He is also almost always serious, not doing his normal quips and jokes that we are really used to from Peter, who usually uses it to cope with difficult or precarious situations. His serious nature is also reflected in his costume, with a much darker look, especially those black eyes, which are really cool. His web shooters have also been shown to shoot black webs in some panels, and they also include some more lethal means of dealing with his foes. He is an effective addition to the Spider-Man army though when it was formed, and an extremely effective Spider-Man just in general. Number 8. Marvel Universe vs. The Punisher. In this universe, the Punisher interrupts an arms deal involving what he thinks is a briefcase nuke, only to discover that it is in fact a man-made virus that, for Frank Castle, makes him immune to infection, illness, and disease. That's really good, but it didn't quite do this for everyone else. The problem here is that the chemical weapon found its way into the water supply and then into the food, and started in New York, spreading to the whole world through infected travelers. And then it started turning people and heroes into starting with Spider-Man. Spider-Man of Earth 11080 became infected with one of Marvel's deadliest viruses, which transformed him into a raging tribal. He viciously ate the Rhino on live TV and started an infection that eventually took over the entire world. In this new post-apocalypse, this terrifyingly evil Spider-Man became Patient Zero and took control of a portion of the former New York City, facing a rival tribe of other man-eaters led by the Kingpin, who took Spider-Man's mate, Mary Jane, prompting Patient Zero Spider-Man to hire the immune Frank Castle to rescue her. But then he met his sticky end, so Number 7. Spider from Earth 15. There are a lot of characters who go by the name of the Spider, including a pulp hero from way back in the day, but specifically today we are talking about a Peter Parker variant that's bonded with the Carnage symbiote coming from Earth 15. The Spider of Earth 15 is a much more sadistic, sociopathic, red-headed version of Peter Parker, and that's the scary part. He's a ginger. He even claims that he has been sentenced to a total of 67 life sentences in prison for the crimes that he has committed, but of course, to make him just a bit more lovable, he has a sense of humor very much like that of Deadpool. It's great, if not a little unnerving. The Spider was introduced in Exiles #12 and was a big part of the reality-saving Weapon X team featured in that story, being a sometimes leader of the team. As a Carnage-bonded sociopath, he was pretty powerful, but he nonetheless was sent to the afterlife by a blast from Firestar in Exiles #44. When you're dealing with the multiverse, there is bound to be someone stronger than you, no matter what you do and who you are, even if you're a scary Spider-Man. Number 6. Zombie Spider-Man. Yes, Zombie Spider-Man is essentially the same Spider-Man everyone is used to, all the same powers at least, except after being bit by a zombie, he now also has a ravenous hunger that cannot be sated no matter what, combined with the fact that he is essentially undead and can take a whole whack more punishment. Both of those factors led him and a group of other heroes, who were zombified, to consume the Silver Surfer and Galactus, which gave them all the power cosmic. With the power cosmic, the zombie Galacti, which is what they called themselves, have the ability to absorb and tap ambient cosmic energy into their bodies at will and expel those energies, like channeling beams of energy through their hands and teleporting through time and space, devouring entire planets. With this power, they have the potential to phase through objects, accelerate the evolution of life forms, see the past by peeling back the layers of time, time travel, and manipulate, absorb, and discharge any form of energy or radiation. But they mainly use it to get to the next snack. Though Spider-Zombie loses all this power eventually, he still had it and was an incredibly powerful version of Spider-Man, and also a really scary one because he would eat your face.
Number 5. Spider-Man 2211. Spider-Man 2211 is like Spider-Man 2099, but from even farther into the future. He is known as a time spinner and does his best to protect the time field. This version of Spider-Man is named Max Bourne, and his appearance also differs from the Spider-Man of Earth 616 and the Spider-Man Spider-Man of 2099 in the regard that his costume has multiple mechanized arms. Kinda like Dr. Octopus, or more specifically Dr. Octopus's look when he became Spider-Man and was known as Superior Spider-Man. Max Bourne's arch nemesis is Hobgoblin of 2211, who it turns out is actually his own daughter, Robin. Gasp. Along with Spider-Man of Earth 616 and Spider-Man of 2099, he faces and defeats Hobgoblin only for her true identity to be revealed to him. Number 4. Reign. Specifically, Spider-Man Reign. This future version of Spider-Man hails from an even bleaker reality than Final Stand Spider-Man, hailing from the comic known as Spider-Man Reign. Here, Peter ends up working at a flower shop after years of being a hero. No longer operating as Spider-Man, this version of Peter has become somewhat senile, frail, and old. He is also haunted by his past, having hallucinations of Mary Jane, who is now long dead. Mary Jane in this reality apparently died from being close to Peter, which he carries immense guilt over. Apparently his radioactiveness was not so good for MJ's body, ended up giving her cancer and sadly killed her in the end. Peter eventually does return to heroics, but even then it's a pretty sad return, with him mostly getting his butt whooped when he isn't busy being swept up in some kind of fantasy or hallucination of his past. Number 3. MC2. In the MC2 reality of Earth 982, Peter Parker actually gets to grow up and settle down with MJ. The two do end up married with kids, with daughter May, Mayday Parker, successfully being born. May grows up to have spider powers like her dad and eventually becomes known as the hero Spider-Girl, living up to her family legacy and becoming a hero in her own right herself. Peter and MJ in this reality also have another child, May's younger brother Benji. Benji as a youngster also displays abilities and powers. He also goes on to have an adventure as a little tyke with Carnage, unintentionally bonding with the symbiote. Fortunately, his older sister May is able to save him, although for a time Ben would actually suffer from permanent hearing loss as a result of that rescue. Number 2. Jerry Drew. In the same future that MC2 Peter hails from, known as the alternate reality of Earth 982, Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman, also has a child. MC2 is notoriously known for being the reality where superheroes get to grow up, retire, or settle down to live a somewhat normal life, possibly amidst continued heroics for those, of course, who don't retire. As such, Jessica is also one of those heroes. She gets married and ends up pregnant, but unfortunately her son Jerry is born with a rare bloodborne illness. In an attempt to cure Jerry, Jessica submits him to the same experimentation which saved her as a child and also gave her spider powers. The same happens to Jerry, who also gets spider powers and ends up becoming a hero, taking up the mantle Spider-Man, after being inspired by stories that his mom tells him of her days as a hero and of Spider-Man's adventures. Number 1. Spider-Man 2099. What would a future Spider-Man list be without the future Spider-Man? That's right, we're talking about Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099. Or just Spider-Man really, as he's known in his own world, because it is 2099, so people don't just go like, hey, that's that hero 2099 and that's that villain 2099. 2099 is often thought of as being the future for the main comic book continuity of Earth 616. Here Miguel wasn't always actually the most altruistic guy, which I think is part of what makes him so cool as a character. He's got flaws. And becoming Spider-Man is part of his journey to becoming a better person. He becomes better as an individual as he becomes a hero. Miguel also comes with a futuristic look and some future tech as well. He got powers after submitting himself to his own experiments in the hopes of ridding himself of an addiction that was forced on him by the company he worked for, Alchemax, in order to prevent him from quitting. That's a pretty intense way to try to get someone to not quit. Be like, well, we create this substance and we're gonna give it to you without you knowing, and now you have an addiction to it, and now you have to keep working for us if you want that thing. So there you go. But thank goodness Miguel found a way around that.
Coming in at number 10 is Twinkie Spider-Man. While originally a crossover advertisement deal between Marvel Comics and Hostess, you know, the company that owns Twinkies, Snowballs, and those cupcake snack pastries, the Spider-Man of Earth 51914 is an official member of the Spider-Verse, being defeated by Morlun in the first Spider-Verse comic in 2014. But Morlun has defeated many spider totems, it's his whole thing. This sweet Spider-Man has all the same powers as our 616 Spider-based hero, only he has the added benefit of using Hostess snacks as equipment, whether it be to distract, lure, and reason with criminals, and even get out of tight spots in his relationship, like when he gave Mary Jane a cupcake so he could slip away to fight crime. The power of sweet pastries should not be undervalued. Using his pastry-based equipment, he was able to defeat the Fly, Printout Man, Simon the Evil Swami, Madame Web, Legal Eagle, an unnamed jewel thief, Chairman, Homewrecker, Demolition Derby, Photoman, Hotshot, Junjitsu, Larcenarus Lil, and the Human Computer. So yeah, it's not just a sponsor, it is an added ability that puts him a little bit of a cut above, in my opinion. Number 9, Spider-Man Noir. A grittier, more serious, and ruthless world calls for a Peter Parker who's pretty much the same, and the Spider-Man Noir is definitely that guy. After he seeks out revenge on the Goblin for taking away the life of his Uncle Ben, he goes to a warehouse where a spider idol containing thousands of spiders is broken. One of these spiders bites Peter and Bob's your uncle. Peter has visions of a spider god and is granted abilities. He is granted most of the same powers as regular Spider-Man with a bit less strength and a stronger healing factor, but with the ability to use organic webbing, Spider-Man Noir may not be the most powerful character in the Spider-Verse. There are plenty of others who have added abilities or play a larger hand in the conflict, but he has the power of popularity on his side, being a fan favorite character ever since his introduction, which is why, in my opinion, he's one of the few alternate Spider-Men to survive more Lund, despite whatever excuse the comic gave. Also, he looks super cool. Hey nerds! Before we carry on, be sure to check out our channel and subscribe for more comic book content just like this. Alright, let's flip back to the list. Number 8, Penny Parker. This Parker from Earth 14512 doesn't actually have any powers of her own, and while that may make her a little bit of a strange choice for an unstoppable Spider-Man list, she makes up for it with the totally awesome mech spider suit worn by her father before his demise, and that is half controlled by a radioactive spider. First appearing in Edge of Spider-Verse number 5 in October of 2014, Penny and the spider mech are essentially able to do anything you'd expect from a Spider-Man, and technically she doesn't actually have any written limitations yet. Yes, that's a lame reason for her to be so powerful, but it's a legit reason all the same. The mech suit is outfitted with weapons for basically any situation a story calls for, and defenses that would put pretty much any other Spider-Man to shame. Penny also played a pretty prominent role in the animated Spider-Verse movie, and she's become an extremely popular character, which as we know, makes her just a smidge more powerful. Number 7, Superior Spider-Man. This one is a little odd. It's Dr. Otto Octavius, yes, Doc Ock, but nearing his mortal end, he switches bodies with Peter Parker, sending Peter off to Spidey Heaven, temporarily, and Otto finds himself taking on the heroic role of Spider-Man. But he isn't evil! Being in the body of Peter gave Otto an insight into Peter's life and motivation, and actually gave him a change of heart. Now, we have a Spider-Man with all the powers of Peter Parker, but the super genius intellect and cold heart of Otto Octavius. Spider-Ock, or as people call him, Spock, changes things. He took his genius and experience and applied it, making an awesome new suit, spider bots, and mechanical arms. He also straight up took a few villains to their graves and even single-handedly defeated the Sinister Six, taking the Living Brain as a trophy. He completely dumps MJ, which is kind of a downside, but starts a relationship with Anna Maria Marconi, who became a popular addition to the Spider-Man canon. He purged Carly Cooper of the Goblin Serum, helped Aunt May walk again, got Peter his PhD, mainly for clout, and built a scientific empire that would make him a multi-billionaire. And a version of him played a huge role in the Spider-Verse event, even leading a whole team of spider totems. Number 6, Zombie Spider-Man. Yes, Zombie Spider-Man is essentially the same Spider-Man everyone is used to. All the same powers at least, except after being bit by a zombie, he now also has a ravenous hunger that cannot be sated no matter what, combined with the fact that he is essentially undead and can take a whole whack more punishment. Both of those factors led him and a group of other heroes to consume the Silver Surfer and Galactus, which gave them all the cosmic power, or the power cosmic, however you want to say it. With this power cosmic, the zombie Galacti, which is what they call themselves, have the ability to absorb and tap ambient cosmic energy into their bodies at will and expel those energies, like channeling beams of energy through their hands and teleporting through time and space, devouring entire planets. With this power, they have the potential to phase through objects, accelerate the evolution of life forms, see the past by peeling back the layers of time travel, and to manipulate, absorb, and discharge any form of energy or radiation. But they mainly use it to get their next snack. Though Spider-Zombie loses all of this power, he still had it and was an incredibly powerful version of Spider-Man, and he kept surviving into the new zombie world they eventually eventually ended up on. Number 5. Phoenix Force Spider-Man. Okay, so this is a slightly more confusing pick for this list. Most fans of Marvel Comics know that the Phoenix Force is an incredibly powerful entity within the universe, essentially the embodiment of life itself. Many characters have played the role of hosts for the Phoenix Force, and not always with the best outcomes. But Spider-Man wielding the immense power of the Phoenix Force first appeared in a comic in Spider-Man number 25 in 1990. Now unfortunately though, this was later revealed to just be an illusion. But since it was so incredibly awesome to see, it inspired another appearance. However, this time it was taken by a video game. Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro, which actually saw Peter Parker wielding the Phoenix Force with real Phoenix Force powers. It's not comic books, but it happened, so it's kinda cool. Number 4. Cosmic Spider-Man. There was a point in time when Peter Parker of Earth 616 absorbed the Enigma Force and became the most powerful version of Spider-Man we have ever even seen. Even capable of punching the Hulk into orbit. Now in the mainline continuity, he doesn't have it for very long, but on Earth 13, he kept the powers and became the hero Captain Universe. So this Peter Parker has all the usual Spider-Man powers, but also now has cosmic awareness, energy manipulation, giving him energy blasts and flight. He can manipulate matter, making his webs as strong as adamantium, or even changing their shape altogether. He has fought and wiped the floor with some truly strong foes like Thor, Graviton, and of course the Hulk, and he never truly hit his upper limit of strength and power, even when he cleaned up all the oceans and threw all the Earth's trash into the sun. His universe became a safe haven for all the Spider-Men and Spider-Women in the multiverse when the Inheritors were hunting them down, because Captain Universe could defeat them, and his cosmic powers are gone when he leaves this dimension. Now unfortunately, he is consumed by Solus, who was allowed to get a hold of him and used his powers against him in Amazing Spider-Man number 11 in 2014, but if we don't think about that, we just look at all the other stuff, pretty powerful. Pretty unstoppable. Number 3. Cosmic Comic Spider-Man. Now look, I've talked about this version of Spider-Man a few times, and I'm sorry if it's getting old, but it's cool. The comic he appears in is actually just a guide on how to read comic books, and through the course of the story, it basically becomes a love letter to comic books themselves. It's really good if you love comic books, you should definitely check it out. In How to Read Comics the Marvel Way, issues 1 to 4, the comic itself becomes a character, and it starts off trying to teach the reader how exactly to read comics. The comic follows Spider-Man in a conflict with Mysterio, who found the Cosmic Comic, the same one speaking to us, in the basement of the Natural History Museum. It allowed Mysterio to freeze Spider-Man in time in a comic panel, turn inanimate objects to life, and increase his size. Now after causing more problems by tearing the comic book in half, Peter Parker eventually learns that he himself is a comic book character. He can see all of time laid out as a comic panel. He trapped Mysterio in an airline passenger safety card, which is essentially a comic book if you think about it, and then he pulled him out of that comic. He created comic book shops to combat the dip in popularity of comics themselves, and he even breaks the fourth wall and begins to talk to the reader. Essentially, Spider-Man temporarily had control over comic books themselves, which if you think about it, is similar to, but even more powerful than the ability of a comic book character to warp reality. Number 2. Power of Love Spider-Man. Okay, so this isn't really an alternate version of Spider-Man. This is still 616 Peter, but merged with the nexus of all realities, gaining enough power to fight the Outrider. The story is actually a little difficult to follow and understand. It took me some time, so it may be because I'm just lacking in brain cells, or it may be that it's all very convoluted and the art isn't exactly clear. So if I get any information here wrong, feel free to correct me, please. But as for the power Spider-Man possesses here, he doesn't actually do much, aside from facing Outrider, that is, if you consider not doing much as destroying and recreating multiple different universes in order to save all of creation. So he does a lot. And that sentence alone does kind of speak volumes about the power that Spider-Man possessed for a little while. The story is in Peter Parker's Spider-Man Annual number 1, and you should definitely check it out so that you can figure out everything I just said, because I think I messed it up. Number 1. Beyonder Spider-Man. For this point, we are talking about regular old Peter Parker from Spider-Man and Secret Wars number 4, when he temporarily gains the powers of the Beyonder. Now before Dr. Doom was granted the Beyonder's powers in Secret War, the Beyonder power actually went to 2 others. Once the power left the Beyonder himself, it actually went straight to Wolverine, who absolutely could not handle the power at all, so he almost immediately bestowed it onto Spider-Man. With this power, Spider-Man turns Doc Ock into plants, he obliterates a big group of villains, easily rips apart Ultron, literally stomps on the Molecule Man, and defeats Galactus with his fists. He brings a city from the 32nd century into the modern day, creating a new Parker City. He saves Uncle Ben on like 3 separate occasions, just bringing him back to life like through reality. But then we learn that all this happened in like 1/100000th of a second before Dr. Doom took the power back for himself, which is the way it ended up being and was supposed to be the whole. Starting off our list at number 10 is Assassin Spider-Man. In What If Spider-Man vs. Wolverine #1, we are introduced to Spider Assassin, a Spider-Man variant who is just a little bit more loose when it comes to the morals he follows. In his universe, with great power comes great responsibility and greater enemies, which led the Peter of Earth 8351 to leave New York City in order to protect his family from the villains who would make personal strikes. Instead, Peter joined up with Wolverine, and because of their time traveling and working together, he is much less opposed to sending criminals to the afterlife, meaning he does it on the regs. He's also almost always serious, not resorting to the usual quips and jokes that we are used to Peter using to cope with difficult or precarious situations anymore. His serious nature is also reflected in his costume, with a much darker look, especially with those black eyes. I really dig it. His web shooters have also been shown to shoot black webs in some panels, and they also include some more lethal means of dealing with his foes. He is an effective addition to the Spider Army when it was formed, and an extremely effective Spider-Man indeed. Number 9. The Spider. There are a lot of characters who go by the name of the Spider, including a pulp hero from way back in the day, but specifically we are talking about a Peter Parker variant that's bonded with the Carnage symbiote coming from Earth 15. The Spider of Earth 15 is a much more sadistic, sociopathic, red-headed version of Peter Parker. He even claims that he has been sentenced to a total of, quote, 67 life sentences in prison for the crimes that he has committed. But of course, to make him just a bit more lovable, he has a sense of humor very much like that of Deadpool. It's great, if not a little unnerving. The Spider was introduced in Exiles #12 and was a big part of the reality-saving Weapons X team featured in it. Being a sometimes leader of the team, as a Carnage-bonded sociopath, he was pretty powerful. But he was nonetheless sent to the afterlife by a blast from Firestar in Exiles #44, because when you're dealing with the multiverse, there is bound to be someone stronger than you, no matter what you do and who you are. Number 8. Nightcrawler Spider-Man. Very recently, meaning this year, we have been introduced to the Sins of Sinister story arc, which is basically Mr. Sinister enacting a plan to take over the world and actually pretty much succeeding. There's a whole lot to this plan that kind of deserves its own point, but one part of his plan is using his cloning know-how to create chimeras. These essentially are spliced together versions of mutants and other heroes, so basically taking the already powerful mutant heroes and making them even more powerful by giving them a second power. There are some really cool mashups, but one of the spin-off comics from this event is X-Men Sins of Sinister Nightcrawlers. This comic features a team of spliced together Nightcrawlers who call themselves the Legion of the Night, and one of these splices puts the powers of Nightcrawler on a clone of Peter Parker. It's a blue-skinned man who can do whatever a spider can, but who can also bamf from place to place. I never knew it was something I needed, but it definitely is. Nightcrawler never gets enough love in my eyes, and he's definitely one of the coolest of the X-Men. Unfortunately, I think Marvel knows how powerful this combo would really be, so they dispose of this chimera in a pretty lame way, but in my eyes, unstoppable. Number 7. Spider-Pool. Okay, I'll be honest, we have like zero information on this alternate Spider-Man. During the Spider-Verse, we were introduced to so many versions of Spider-Man that to go through each and every one in detail would have left us with no actual Spider-Verse story, and that story is dope, so no. But good golly, I wish for this one character they would have. First spotted in issue 9 of The Amazing Spider-Man from 2014 in a tiny little panel is an alternate Spider-Man wielding a katana. We see him again from the back in issue 14, and then we finally see a frontal view of this Spider-Man in issue 15 when the suspicions are confirmed. confirmed. There for all to see is a Spider-Man who is also dressed with elements of the character of Deadpool. Surviving the war with the Inheritors that took the life of so many alternate versions of Spider-Man, of course he would make it through. We can assume that this guy has all the Spider-Man powers, but if he's also Deadpool, then this version of Spider-Man also has that god-level healing factor, and based on the katanas, he is just as okay with being a complete psychopath. While we have no idea about this Spider-Pool's name, story, powers, or personality, we can make enough guesses to know that this guy is incredibly capable and most likely unstoppable. Number 6. Takuya Yamashiro. Instead of being Peter Parker, the Japanese Spider-Man, Spider-Man, is Takuya Yamashiro, a motocross racer and son of astrophysicist Dr. Hiroshi Yamashiro. Unlike most versions of Spider-Man, Takuya was introduced through a live-action Japanese Spider-Man TV show, and with that, his character differs quite a bit. For starters, his spider powers are a little less powerful due to the budget constraints for the show, which is a hilarious reason, but don't you dare think that this makes this guy a pushover. To make up for his less powerful spider powers, Takuya has a massive kaiju fighting mech named Lepardon, Power Ranger style with arm rockets, an absolutely giant sword, and a boomerang. He uses Lepardon and his spider abilities to fight the Iron Cross Army, which is a group of suspiciously human-looking aliens from an unnamed world who are led by, wait for it, Professor Monster. Nice. Due to his popularity and just how awesome he is, Takuya Yamashiro has become an official character in the multiverse, coming from Earth 51778, fighting against the Inheritors alongside the Spider Army, and he is set to appear in the second animated Spider-Verse movie, which I am pumped to see.
5. Ren. Ren is Canadian, but she lives in Japan. Her unique extra power is the ability to control emotions. This stems from her desire to control her own emotions, often feeling extreme sadness. So now she can utilize this power to create extreme emotions in opponents to throw them off and give her an edge in battle. Her costume is reminiscent of the neon signs that light up Japan's night sky. 4. Cobweb. Okay, fairy Spider-Man. Technically, she is a Seelie and based her Seelie glamour on Spider-Man, whom she is a big fan of. Me too, girl. She helped Spider-Man and friends save their friend in Central Park, and Spidey gave her his blessing to join the Spider Legacy as Spider Sprite. Cobweb has wings and spits her webbing from her mouth, which is such a choice, but you know, I'm not making it. 3. Web Witch. You can probably guess what additional abilities Web Witch is working with. After learning how to navigate the web of life and destiny, Maeve Z further developed her sorcery to carry cards capable of summoning any spider hero she has encountered across the multiverse. Each card bears the symbols of the spider person, and anytime she finds a world in peril, she just calls upon the right hero for the job. 2. Dream Spider. Crystal was friends with Peter Parker, and when the Peter of her world destroyed his dream construct, the fragments connected with Crystal, turning her into a spider person with dream-related powers, including access to the dream dimension and the ability to alter dreams. And a bonus addition, because she's like a ballerina puppet master Spider-Man, and leaving her off this list is a crime that I am not willing to commit. Spider Requiem, or Palomina Swan, first name inspired by the Greek muse of dance and last name likely Swan Lake. In addition to the usual spider powers, she has the ability to control these like puppets that she makes. Based on her spider name, I am inclined to believe that there is something supernatural and underworldly about those puppets. And finally, number 1, Spinner. Cassandra Kelly doesn't just have spider powers, she also got a boost from the goddess Athena. Really, the goddess was the one who blessed Spinner with her spider powers, in addition to clairvoyance, as you can see with the third eye on her suit, and the ability to weave light. Is there a Marvel character more famous than Spider-Man? That is the question. There are hundreds of spider variants out in the multiverse, and we have gathered some of our favorites for today's list that we think will truly blow your mind. Coming in at number 10 is the completely iconic Peter Paraquat. Peter Paraquat, the Spider-Man of Earth 311, is an incredible reimagining of the iconic hero, set in the Elizabethan era of Marvel's 1602 universe. Instead of a modern-day teenager, Peter is an orphaned apprentice to Sir Nicholas Fury and a servant of Queen Elizabeth I, navigating a world of spies, literal witch hunts, and political intrigue. His powers, gained after being bitten by a spider exposed to temporal energies, mirror those of the classic Spider-Man, including wall crawling, superhuman agility, and the famous spider senses. But his journey is shaped by the dangers and limitations of the 17th century. What isn't limited is his wardrobe. The 1602 spider suit is iconic, and it even has that little neck ruffle 10 out of 10. Familiar Spider-Man themes, responsibility, loss, and heroism are reframed in a world of swords, sorcery, and Shakespearean drama. Peter's story is filled with unique twists. He's trained in espionage, falls in love with Virginia Dare, who was actually a real person by the way, and faces threats like Norman Osborn and Baron Octavius in forms fitting the era. His tragic and heroic end battling the multiversal predator Morlun in the Globe Theater underscores the timelessness of Spider-Man's courage and sacrifice, making Peter Paraquat a version that both honors and radically reinvents the legend. They might have fought in Shakespeare's theater, but Shakespeare could have never come up with something like this. Coming in at number 9 is a Spider-Man that we can't technically say the actual name of for fear of demonetization, so let's call him Spider-Merc. Peter Parker of Earth 8351, also known as the Spider-Merc, is a mind-blowing alternate version of Spider-Man because he fundamentally breaks from the classic friendly neighborhood hero archetype. In this universe, Peter's life takes a darker turn after he undergoes intense training with Wolverine, one of Marvel's most ruthless fighters. This mentorship transforms Peter into an eliminator who believes that some threats can only be dealt with through lethal force, a philosophy that couldn't be more different from the traditional Spider-Man's rule if he tried. He abandons Mary Jane for a new partner named Alex and becomes so skilled that he easily defeats top agents like Black Widow. His tactical suit is enhanced with hidden weapons and modified web shooters capable of delivering lethal force, making him an intimidating and unpredictable combatant. The internal conflict between his original ideals and his new, ruthless methods adds a complex, almost tragic layer to his character. Seeing a Spider-Man who is willing to terminate, isolated from his heroic peers and haunted by his choices, would shock anyone familiar with the web-slinger's usual moral compass, making Earth 8351's Peter Parker a true compelling twist on the legend. Number 8. Patton Parnell. Patton Parnell from Earth 51412 is one of the most evil and disgusting alternate versions of Spider-Man in the Marvel multiverse. Unlike the heroic Peter Parker, Patton is a dark, twisted reflection, an introverted, disturbed teenager with a penchant for cruelty and a fascination with experimenting on animals. After being bitten by a genetically altered spider, Patton doesn't become a hero. Instead, he transforms into a monstrous, spider-like creature that preys on others and even consumes his own uncle. What makes Patton Parnell so shocking is how he subverts everything that fans expect from Spider-Man. Instead of using his powers for good, he becomes a predator, embodying the horror of unchecked power and suppressed urges. His story is a chilling reminder of how easily the Spider-Man mythos can be turned on its head, a disturbing and unforgettable take on the iconic web slinger. The part that personally freaks me out the most is that he has the ability to lay eggs in his victims. When he bites, he implants eggs in the victim. It's what he did to his version of MJ, Sarah Jane, and the next morning, hundreds of little spiders spilled out from her neck. And personally, if that happened to me, long walk of a short pier. I'm being so serious, that is nightmare fuel. Number 7, Dr. Aaron Aikman. Dr. Aaron is a remarkable alternate version of Spider-Man from Earth 31411, whose intriguing nature stems from his unique fusion of cutting-edge science and spider-like abilities. A talented biologist specializing in insect and arachnid venoms, Aaron took the extraordinary step of resequencing his own DNA with genetically altered spider genes, granting him superhuman strength, agility, and of course, wall-crawling powers. Unlike Peter Parker, Aaron augmented his natural abilities with a sophisticated cybernetic armor equipped with advanced technology such as an internal helmet computer, web shooters capable of firing various web shapes, catapult propulsion boots, and a retractable neural pulse stinger. This blend of biological enhancement and high-tech gear makes him an innovative Spider-Man who stands out in the multiverse. His story is further enriched by his complex personal life, including his relationship with Dr. Kuroi Ikegami and the tragic circumstances involving her daughter, which add an emotional depth to this heroic journey. Aaron's combination of scientific genius, experimental self-modification, and technological prowess would blow anyone's mind by showcasing a futuristic Spider-Man who is both a brilliant scientist and a high-tech warrior.
Number 5. Dark Ages. Dark Ages is, in my opinion, a pretty underrated story. Essentially, a superpowered machine known as the Unmaker was causing massive devastation in the core of the planet, and in an attempt to stop the threat, a portal created by Doctor Strange released an EMP that completely crippled the world's technology. The story essentially sees the world rebuilding itself without the use of any advanced technology, while also dealing with the many threats of the world, including werewolves, vampires, and super supervillains, specifically the mutant apocalypse. Now, Miles Morales was one of the survivors of this new society, although here, Miles became bonded to the Venom symbiote, which he used to try and help people during the first early years. They worked really well together until the Carnage symbiote also forcibly bonded itself to Miles as well. Now, this isn't like Carnage kicked out Venom or anything like that. It's Carnage corrupting Venom, and the two symbiotes together both agreed to take over Miles' body. And they even went to work for Apocalypse in exchange for a ship to escape the Earth. All the while, Miles remained unconscious, being used as an unwilling host. It sounds horrifying because it is. That's scary. Number 4, poison. Ever since the first time Venom and Spider-Man bonded together, that pesky little symbiote would continuously try to merge with Peter Parker, but he would only get about halfway before Peter could repel him. Now, what happens if Venom finally gets what he wants? Well, in the What If Spider-Man The Other story, we get to find out. After Peter is semi-defeated by Morlun and cocoons himself under Brooklyn Bridge, he is offered the chance to be resurrected by the Spider God called The Other. But instead of allowing this like he does in the normal continuity, Peter refuses and is instead stuck in his cocoon, half alive. Now we cut to Venom, who, being Spider-Man's crazy ex-girlfriend, senses the vulnerability of his soulmate and completely ditches his current host, Mac Gargan. He intercepts Peter's body, and after months of struggling inside the cocoon, monstrously breaking down Peter Parker, Venom fully bonds to Peter. Now the pair are truly one and the same, with all the fully realized powers that come with being a symbiote, which include being able to replicate itself and host more than one body, producing stingers that are strong enough to pierce Luke Cage's skin, and the newly dubbed being, known as Poison, was even able to resurrect Gwen Stacy in a form that seems to take after Venom's offspring, Carnage. Number 3, Spider-Man Pestilence. Yes, that's right, everyone's favorite web slinger was a Horseman of Apocalypse at more than one point, but every time he has been, he was Pestilence. So yes, you lucky nerds are getting 2 points in one here. Look at that. Don't say I never gave you anything, ever. On Earth 5701, Peter goes full spider in his horseman form with 4 arms and 4 legs. It's actually super freaky and I do not like it. He, Archangel, and Famine are tasked with going on a merry reality hopping hunt of Cable, which they ultimately fail at. Now in the Earth 10082 reality, Peter is Pestilence again, but a different kind of terrifying as he is fused with his Pestilence steed because of the techno-organic virus, becoming all white and hairy and pure nightmare fuel. He's like a person with a horse on him. It's scary. He and the other horsemen of this reality go to the mainline Earth to fight the Avengers with Apocalypse, and they kind of lose, but whatever. Number 2, Spiders-Man. In Spider-Geddon number 3 of 2018, we are introduced to Spiders-Man, a colony of thousands of radioactively powered spiders who, in a moment of absolute horror, consumed a high school kid by the name of Peter Parker when he fell into their enclosure at Horizon Labs. After consuming Peter Parker, something strange happened. Instead of the spiders just going about their lives, the whole gaggle of spiders gained a sort of hive mind, and they took on the form of Peter himself and began fighting crime in the aptly named Cruel York of Earth 11580. Other than his usual Spider-Man powers and the benefits of being a swarm of spiders, the colony is also able to poison its victims with a bite, or if they're hungry for power, they can devour them whole, and it's incredibly hard to actually take out this version of Spider-Man, as even a single spider of the thousands who make up this being survives. It means technically, Spiders-Man is also still alive, and it can and will eventually multiply to rebuild itself, or himself, or their self, whatever you want to call him. I don't know. And finally, in number 1 today, it's Patton Parnell. I think this is the most terrifying version of Spider-Man I've ever seen. Maybe even more so than Spiders-Man, and he's a colony of spiders. Patton Parnell is nothing like Peter Parker. He's a sociopath, a maniac, and he has the ability to transform into a monster Spider-Man hybrid with 8 eyes, 8 limbs, and massive spider-like fangs. Seeing this bald monster thing crawl around your walls and ceiling, that's scary enough, but knowing that he ate at least 3 people, including his uncle, and can implant hundreds of baby spiders into you just by biting you is absolutely nightmare-inducing. Luckily, he gets defeated pretty soon after his creation by Morlun, but at the time, Patton Parnell from Earth 51412 was around. He was very, very powerful and extremely scary.
Number 10, Peter B. Parker. This alternate future version of of Peter Parker hails from the Into the Spider-Verse multiverse. He is the older, mid-30s to approaching perhaps middle-aged Spider-Man, also known as Peter B. Parker, with the B in his name presumably standing for Benjamin, like the main continuity Peter of 616. In this reality, Peter is all grown up. He settles down with MJ only to later get divorced, as Mary Jane wanted kids but Peter wasn't ready. It's clear that this Peter Parker regrets some of his life choices, namely hurting MJ, and wants her back. He is pulled into Miles' reality thanks to Kingpin's Super Colliders experiments. Peter attempts to train Miles while also teaming up with him to defeat Kingpin and return both himself and the other alternate Spider folks back to their home realities before it's too late. Number 9. Officer Parker. In the alternate future of Earth X, Peter and Mary Jane's daughter May does not die and instead lives, growing up to become that reality's Venom. MJ dies of cancer before things start to get wild on Earth X, leaving Peter to take care of his daughter alone. Their relationship becomes strained as Peter doesn't believe that May can actually control the symbiote, when in reality, she can. In this future, Peter's identity is also revealed to the public by Norman Osborn when he takes over the Daily Bugle, which also runs the paper out of business due to the revelation that the hero they called a supposed menace had been on their payroll the whole time. Eventually, Peter is convinced to join the New York police force by Luke Cage, and he works hard to protect the people of New York and later their scarce food supply, when the polls are reversed and New York freezes over as a result. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists about future alternate versions of Spidey, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. Number 8. Final Stand Spider-Man. Not all future Spider-Men finish life happy, and not all of them even are still considered heroes in the end. With Final Stand Spider-Man, the world is a lot more bleak in this future. This is an alternate future version of Peter Parker from a possible future that Madam Web gets a glimpse into. Here, Peter Parker ends up killing Kraven the Hunter and goes on to kill Dr. Octopus. He ends up betraying those he loves, and in the end, when the NYPD hunt him down, giving him an opportunity to surrender and admit to his crimes, Spider-Man refuses. He is shot and killed in this final stand. Number 7. Avengers Forever. This is actually a version of future Spider-Man often referred to as Spider-Man 2099. Not the Spider-Man 2099 though, as I said, this is an alternate version of that alternate version of Spider-Man. This Spider-Man 2099 is still Miguel O'Hara, but instead of hailing from the 2099 reality of Earth 928, this version of Miguel hails from the reality of Earth 98120, as seen in the 90s comic series Avengers Forever. In this alternate future, Miguel ends up joining the Avengers, but unfortunately later meets his end at the totemic life force draining hands of Morlun the Inheritor during the Spider-Verse event. Number 6. The CEO. As we said before, not all future versions of Spider-Man are heroes. Case in point, the Peter Parker who is still alive in 2099, as seen in the story from the 2011 video game, Spider-Man Edge of Time. Here, Peter Parker lives on to the year 2099 thanks to anti-aging tech. He fakes his own death as Spider-Man and operates in the shadows, becoming the CEO of the company Alchemex. He is one of the villains of the game who Spider-Man 2099 Miguel O'Hara must face in the end. Although Peter ends up a secret antagonist and villain, his goal at least is somewhat altruistic here. Peter wants to rewrite the timeline so that he can bring back all those that he's lost during his time as a hero. In the end, this Peter presumably gets erased from the time stream after a younger version of Peter Parker is convinced to not go down this path and never become the CEO of Alchemex.
Number 5. Peter Parker of Earth 92100. You'd think the addition of extra arms for a Spider-Man would be an added benefit. When it happened to Peter in the 616 universe though, he freaked the hell out and pretty quickly got rid of the extra limbs using the DNA of Michael Morbius. To be honest, if I sprouted 2 extra sets of arms, I'd probably be a little freaked out too. I also kinda wonder how the musculature of your body would change, but I'm getting off topic. On Earth 92100, when Peter grew his extra limbs, unfortunately, Morbius did not live long enough to help Peter because he was eaten by sharks, which meant that Peter kind of had to just deal with it. Well, what do you know, turns out during a fight with Doc Ock, after Peter embraced his extra appendages, they actually give him a distinct advantage. The added arms seem to grant him much more strength and agility, and using them them, he is even able to save Gwen Stacy from her demise at the hands of the Green Goblin. Unfortunately, these arms don't really protect him from the Inheritors, but they didn't really beat him. Instead, he sacrificed himself to save Spider-Man 2099 and Lady Spider from the Inheritors in Spider-Man 2099 Volume 2, Number 6 in 2014. Number 4. Silk. Cindy Moon's first appearance in the comics was actually as a cameo in issue 1 of the 2014 Amazing Spider-Man reboot. In that comic, we see the events that lead to Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man. A spider gets caught in a particle collider and becomes heavily irradiated, and then it goes off to bite Peter Parker. But after this spider drops off Peter, it crawls along the floor before climbing onto and biting the ankle of a random girl who also happened to be there as well. This girl was Cindy Moon. Just like Peter Parker, Cindy Moon gained amazing spider-related abilities. Cindy got the attention of a man known as Ezekiel Sims, who came and took her away and began training her in how to use her powers for good. He was a mentor and a father figure for her while she was with him, and after he discovered that Morlun was tracking her, he and Cindy agreed that she should be hidden away. That is, until Peter Parker found her. Silk possesses an extrasensory hyper, danger, or silk sense, which is more advanced than the spider sense of Spider-Man and other spider totems. It allows her to react significantly faster in combat for starters, but it also has superior range, and can even sense the identity of an attacker before a fight even begins. Cindy can also weirdly spin webs from her fingertips, and on top of that, she was the avatar of a powerful spider totem called the Bride, which made her play an integral part of the huge multiversal Spider-Verse event from 2014. Number 3. Mayday Parker. First appearing in a What If comic, specifically number 105 from December 1997, the daughter of Peter Parker and Mary Jane from a future alternate world, Earth 982, Mayday Parker becomes Spider-Girl and eventually Spider-Woman, and fills the role that her father once held as the next generation of heroes. Where she is only slightly weaker than Peter in the strength department, she is much more agile and has a stronger, more precise spider sense. But her ability to stick to surfaces is considerably more powerful than Peter's as well. However, wall crawling does not come as naturally to May, and she has to concentrate to stick to surfaces. She also has the ability to transmit this ability through objects for short distances. So, as an example, Spider-Girl could stick to the floor and transmit the electrostatic stickiness through the floor, making everyone and everything stuck in place to the floor. I said floor a lot, and that was kind of weird. But what's even cooler is that she can reverse the ability, and instead of stick, she can repel off a surface. This adds power to her jumps, but it can also be used to repel people and objects away from her at a pretty considerable speed. Number 2. Kane Parker. The Clone Saga of the 90s is considered to be pretty infamous by fans of Spider-Man, but while it introduced a lot of strange elements into the continuity, it also added some pretty amazing characters in the form of Ben Reilly and Kane Parker, two somewhat overlooked but powerful Spider-Man clones from that saga. Kane is a great character with a really great arc that even saw him have his own Scarlet Spider series. Now his powers are almost identical to Peter Parker, but luckily for him, these powers were slightly altered thanks to him being a clone. While we're on the topic of power-ups though, there is a reason I chose Kane for this spot over Ben Reilly, who seems to be the more popular clone. Thanks to an ancient prophecy involving spider totems, Kane could transform into a giant tarantula-like monster known as the Other. On top of his spider powers, he gained venomous bone-like stingers which extended from his forearms, night vision, and enough power to defeat the leader of the Inheritors in the Spider-Verse event, before he was set back to normal. And in at number 1, Spider-Man. Just good old friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He is essentially the face of Marvel Comics, and almost everyone who just knows of comic books knows of Spider-Man. Sure, Spider-Man has been defeated and even lost his life, but he always comes back, and there is a very low possibility that he will ever be brought down for good. Spider-Man has got more than popularity though. He is also very inspiring, actually really strong, and incredibly intelligent. He is seen and respected as one of the most righteous and brave heroes around, and his heroic attitude, sense of responsibility, almost perfect moral compass, and quick wit make him beloved by not only fans but other heroes and even some villains. But above all that, it's his willpower that I think makes him truly unstoppable. Even in the face of certain death, Spider-Man will always get back to his feet, which has allowed him to use his incredible abilities to perform truly incredible feats. Speaking of his powers, Spider-Man possesses the proportional powers of a spider, like we all know, but he's still done things that even a human-sized spider would not not be able to do, and his spider sense gives him an edge in battle that, combined with his other abilities, has made him next to unstoppable. And even when placed beside all the other Spider-Men and Spider-Women of the Spider-Verse event, he was acknowledged as the most powerful one. Number 10. Spider-Man Punisher. On Earth 71928, location of the What If Peter Parker Became the Punisher story, Peter's life remained pretty much the same as Earth 616 Peter, that is, until the night Uncle Ben's life was drawn to a close. Instead of following the classic story, Peter caught and dispatched the killer using the same weapon that took his uncle's life. Now, Peter tried to avoid going full murderous Punisher at first, trying to go his normal route, but since criminals are criminals and they always come back, and he knows how much more permanent of a solution it is to just take them out, he went full force into that lifestyle. He carried the blam blam that took his Uncle Ben's life, as well as other weaponry with multiple different types of ammunition that allowed him to take down the Sinister Six with ease, and he was even able to save Gwen Stacy. Going by Punisher Spider, his suit also took a skull logo instead of the traditional spider logo due to the fact that the spider that gave him his powers was a noble false widow, which has a cephalothorax that looks like a skull, and it's not because he wanted to look like the Punisher. I promise. Number 9. Spider-Man 2099. Miguel O'Hara. Instead of getting bitten, Miguel's DNA was biologically mixed with the spider's DNA to save his life after he was forcibly addicted to a future substance by his employer. Although the process of gaining his powers differed from Peter Parker, Miguel was still granted many of the same abilities at a pretty similar level. One thing that differs largely is Miguel's spider sense. He doesn't have one. Instead, Miguel has advanced super senses similar to someone like Daredevil. But further straying from the 616 Peter Parker, Miguel has some abilities that are just wholly unique to him. For example, he possesses an incredible level of super speed as well as telepathic communication abilities. His webs are also organic, which differs from Spider-Man's web shooters, and he also has fangs and claws on his fingers and toes that he can use in combat. But on top of all those powers, Miguel is from the year 2099. Which means obviously that he naturally has a much more advanced set of technology at his disposal, mainly focusing around his suit, which is incredibly durable and has an artificial intelligence, which is just cool. Number 8. Spider's Man. In Spider-Geddon number 3 of 2018, we are introduced to Spider's Man, which is a colony of thousands of radioactively powered spiders who, in a moment of absolute horror, consumed a high school boy by the name of, let me just check my notes here. Oh, Peter Parker, when he fell into their enclosure at Horizon Labs. After consuming Peter, something strange happened. Instead of the spiders just going about their lives, the whole gaggle of spiders gained a sort of hive mind, and they took on the form of Peter himself and began fighting crime in the aptly named Cruel York of Earth 11580. Now, other than his usual Spider-Man powers and the benefits of being a swarm of spiders, the colony is also able to poison its victims with a bite, or if they're hungry for power, devour them whole, and it's incredibly hard to actually de-life this version of Spider-Man, as even a single spider of the thousands who make up this being survives. It means that technically, Spider's Man is also still alive, and it can and will eventually multiply to rebuild itself. Himself? Their self? One of those. You know what I'm saying. Number 7. Poison. One never truly forgets their first love. And that's apparently true for formless, tar-like, brain-eating aliens too. Ever since the first time Venom and Spider-Man bonded together, that pesky symbiote would continuously try to merge with Peter Parker, but he would only get about halfway before Peter could repel him. Now, what happens if Venom finally gets what he wants? In the What If Spider-Man the Other story, we get to find out. After Peter is semi-defeated by Morlun and cocoons himself under Brooklyn Bridge, he's offered the chance to be resurrected by the Spider God. But instead of allowing this like he does in the normal continuity, Peter refuses and is instead stuck inside of his cocoon like half alive. Now you cut to Venom, who, being Spider-Man's crazy ex-girlfriend, senses the vulnerability of his soulmate and completely ditches his current host, Mac Gargan, and he goes to intercept Peter's body. And after months and months of struggling inside the cocoon, monstrously breaking down Peter Parker, Venom fully bonds to Peter. Now, the pair are truly one, which is something Venom always wanted, with all the fully realized powers that come with being a symbiote, which include being able to replicate itself and host more than one body. He can also produce stingers that are strong enough to pierce Luke Cage's skin, which is insane, and the newly dubbed being known as Poison was even able to resurrect Gwen Stacy in a form that seems to take after Venom's offspring Carnage, although I'm not too sure about that one. Number 6. The Amazing Spider. It appears that Uncle Ben leaving this this plane of existence is actually a really good thing. Hear me out. See, on Earth 11638, Uncle Ben never loses his life, and instead, he helps train Peter Parker with his new Spider-Man powers, and eventually even helps him to form Parker Industries. Now things aren't all hunky-dory though, as you can probably guess. Peter and Uncle Ben end up building a machine that allows Peter to lure alternate versions of himself to this reality where he absorbs their powers to increase his own, making him the most powerful hero on the Earth and eliminating the need for any other superhero. See, that did take a very dark turn. But when he tried to do this to the Spider-Man from Earth 616, this powerful version of Peter loses his life and his soul is sent to Hell, where, with the assistance of the Infernal Hulk, he is fused with the spirit of vengeance, becoming the Ghost Spider. Now that's not the Gwen Stacy Ghost Spider, but a Ghost Rider Spider, which is just fun to say, and that's what I'm gonna go with. Ghost Rider, for any who don't know, is insanely powerful. He has been called in to deal with the Hulk and has even gone toe-to-toe with Galactus. So, this Spider-Man Ghost Rider, or Spider Ghost Rider, which I said I was gonna call him, I'm getting mixed up with words now, is no joke. He's no joke at all. Plus, he looks really cool. And at number 5 is Hulk Spider-Man. I don't have any problem constantly re-talking about this version of Spider-Man and the Hulk because it's freaking cool. Appearing in the Immortal Hulk with Great Power story, Peter Parker is granted the alter ego of the Hulk after Loki magically transfers the ability to him, taking it away from Bruce Banner. All the proportional spider powers mixed with the unstoppable force that is the green monstrosity of the Hulk. It's actually really cool. If not, a little silly to see the Hulk wearing a torn spider suit. And there are tons of hilarious moments in this story, like Spider-Hulk getting annoyed at the stupid sticky wall, which is just his wall crawling powers. Like, come on. Banner calls in the Fantastic Four with the hope of being able to fix the situation. And I personally wish they just left it so we could still have Spider-Hulk. But alas, the power of the Hulk is switched back to Banner with the help of the Fantastic Four and Banner's own genius. It's a short little story that seems almost self-contained, as if it is indeed an alternate universe story, but it's an insanely cool one, and a Spider-Hulk would be an incredibly powerful character if he were to show up again and learn how to overcome the rage thing. Number 4, Ghost Spider. Spider-Gwen, or as she has come to be known, Ghost Spider, is the Gwen Stacy from the alternate reality of Earth 65. In this reality, it is Gwen Stacy, not Peter Parker, who is bitten by a genetically engineered super spider. This bite granted her superhuman strength, speed, toughened flesh, and pretty much all the spider-based powers that the regular Spider-Man would possess. Plus, in my opinion, she has the best looking spider suit. After Gwen is depowered by Cindy Moon during her self-titled comic, Ghost Spider bonds with the Venom symbiote, and successfully too. Gwen has actually learned to find a very healthy balance with her symbiote. The symbiote itself enhances whatever emotions the host has, right? So, when she first bonded with Venom, thanks to a corrupt Matt Murdock, Kingpin, who she was forced to team up with, she was rage-fueled and looking for revenge against the Rhino for attacking her father, and eventually against Murdock himself. But over time, she realized that she needed to control that and give Venom better qualities to enhance in order to control and find balance with the symbiote. In a way, Venom actually helped Gwen to become a better hero. She is another fan-favorite alternate spider hero, and as such has featured in tons of stories. But if you're looking for something to read where Ghost Spider is featured, I suggest Edge of Spider-Verse, where she first appeared, and her own self-titled comic series Spider-Gwen Volume 1 from 2015. Number 3, Spider-Ham. Hailing from a universe where all the Marvel characters are replaced with anthropomorphic cartoon character animal versions of themselves, Peter Porker, yes that is his real name, is Spider-Ham, a pig. Now Peter Porker was actually born a spider named Peter, and he lived in the basement lab of May Porker, a scientist who had created, quote, the world's first atomic-powered hairdryer. Using this atomic hairdryer, May accidentally irradiated herself, and in a weird fit of rage I guess, she bit Peter the Spider, which made him turn into an anthropomorphic pig, just like her, only with the relative powers of a spider. In his premiere issue, he would go on to do battle with Hulk Bunny, created when Bruce Bunny was trapped in an arcade cabinet and bombarded with gamma radiation, and I wish I was making that all up, but it really happened. Spider-Ham has most of the same abilities as 616 Spider-Man, only he has this rather unique ability called called Spider Nonsense, which basically allows him to be more and more cartoony the more danger he is in, which is the perfect reason to have the wackiest nonsense happen that will save this piggy's hide in some of the most imaginative ways possible. Cartoon powers are incredibly powerful, bordering on reality warping, so this is a pretty unstoppable little piggy. Number 2, Miles Morales. Born to an African American father and a Puerto Rican mother, Miles Morales of the 1610 universe was bitten by the Oz-enhanced spider that caused him to pass out and foam at the mouth. When he awoke, he discovered he had powers. Cool! He would go on to become the next Spider-Man of the Ultimate Universe, and people love him. Miles Morales is an incredible character. He has almost all of the regular spider abilities, plus some amazing powers unique to himself. Namely, his venom, which is like a form of bioelectricity that he can emit from his body and use in some really cool ways, like punches and beams and blasts, as well as at long range using his webbing, and that ain't all. Miles is also able to use a spider camouflage to make his whole body, and even his clothes and costumes somehow, go invisible. And apparently, he's immortal, as a side effect of the Oz formula that contributed to his abilities. Also, similar to Ghost Spider Gwen Stacy, who Miles may have a bit of a romance with in this universe, Miles' suit is just dope as hell. And finally, in at number 1 is May Parker. Earth X. It's a world where basically every single person has powers, things have gone apocalyptic, and where the daughter of Peter Parker, May Parker, is Venom. While her retired and cynical pops ain't too thrilled about it, she does actually have complete control over the symbiote thanks to her advanced genetic and honed spider sense. She was eventually under the control of this kid going by the name of the Red Skull, and thanks to her father and other Earth X classic heroes, she was saved. This Spider-Woman / Venom hybrid and her father Spider-Man go on to join a super-powered police force and fight crime and supervillainy threats together. Nice. She eventually, after the death itself, gets recruited by Kang the Conqueror as part of a multiversal team to fight the Apocalypse Twins. In addition to her proportional spider powers plus the enhanced spider sense, she gains all the usual symbiote powers as well, plus a few extra, like what seems to be a rudimentary form of telepathy, and 'tis believed her symbiote could go on to mutate further to gain more powers, which is a good way for Marvel to say, we can do whatever we want with this. She's definitely one of the cooler incarnations of both Spider-Man and Venom to grace the pages of comics.